Sonia here. Today I want to talk to you about a topic that is near and dear to my heart because it's something that I've struggled with so much, and that is energy vampires. Vampire. So first of all, what is an energy vampire? An energy vampire are the people in your life who show up, and when you hang out with them, basically you end up leaving in like a weird mood, or end up having like some sort of like bad vibe. And we can find energy vampires everywhere. They can be in our families, in our friend groups, at work, even just people that we interact with in our day-to-day lives. And the thing about energetic vampires is they leave us feeling drained, insecure, anxious, and a lot of times depleted. And so it's really important to have good energetic boundaries with energy vampires so that we can learn how to navigate the world with ease and know how to dodge their attacks, even though a lot of times, most of the times, they're really unconscious. So there are a few different types of energy vampires. And the reason why I was talking about this was just a few weeks ago, I was talking to a friend of mine who I haven't talked to in years. It was somebody that I've really grown up with and was really close with. And anyway, we got on the phone. They no longer live in the States, and we talked for basically an hour. And it was interesting because throughout the entire conversation, she didn't ask me a single question about my life. Didn't ask me about my boyfriend or being in New Orleans or what I was doing or anything, but I found myself sort of sucked into this orbit of just being support for her. She's moved to this new country, she's having a hard time, is having problems at work, and it was interesting because I could find myself really easily just being like endlessly supportive to her. And then when I got off the phone, when I checked back in with my own sweet spirit, I was like, oh God, I feel drained. And then I was like, oh yeah, energy vampire. So energy vampires show up a lot around empaths, intuitives, and sensitives because we not only are incredibly porous, but generous with our support. And just like a little moth to a flame, they are attracted to our light and unconsciously know that we can be kind of like a psychic dumping ground for them if we allow them to. So energy vampires aren't necessarily bad people because, I don't really think of like good or bad people, but just sort of people who are lacking sometimes a lot of self-awareness and tools. Like they just don't have tools to deal with their own internal stuff. They don't have tools to deal with their own anxiety or low self-esteem or whatever. So they sort of foist that responsibility onto the other people in their lives to sort of lift them up. And that's where we come in. Hi, I'm Sonia, and I can be a magnet for energy vampires. So the first type of energy vampire that shows up a lot are people who are judgmental. And so judgmental vampires are the people who come in and are judgmental of everything. They might make judgments about the people that they run into on the street, make comments about their waiters or their whatever. And basically, a judgmental vampire is somebody who's really struggling with low self-esteem. And one of the ways that they try and make themselves feel better is by putting other people down. But the thing about vibration is that it entrains. And so when you're in that energy, you get also sucked into either also all of a sudden being more judgmental or trying to combat them and even being like, no, maybe that person is having a hard day or there's so many tables here or whatever it is. So judgmental vampires for sure. Second of all, vampires who are constantly the victim. Victim vampires are the worst because they don't take any sort of personal responsibility. The world constantly happens to them and they are the victim. There was a person that I was interacting with not that long ago, a new person that I knew in New Orleans, and basically he kept telling me all these stories about things that had happened, of people that had screwed him over or scratched his car or whatever. And it was interesting because it was like, the first time he told the story, I was like, oh, that kind of stinks. And the second time it was another story of somebody else who did something bad to him. And I was like, okay, that's interesting. And then I had another story and I was like, You are a victim energy vampire, where the world happens to you, and how you see the world is that everybody is coming for you. And so you have to be extra super duper careful. And as empaths and sensitives, a lot of times what happens is we put up this like little armoring and guarding around ourselves because we want to be connected, we want to be empathic, but at the same time that drains at our energy and our resources. Another really interesting energy vampire are people that like dominate. And so those are the people who show up and always know better. Whatever it is that you're doing, they know better, they have more information, they're better equipped, and always end up leaving you feeling small and unsure of yourself. Or they just don't even really allow you to talk or speak. And that also is a really interesting and crappy energy to be around. There's also energy vampires that are the people who are the martyrs, and these two are the ones that are really hard because a lot of times they have a really compelling sob story about, all the different things that are going on in their lives and how hard it is. And for me too, this is an energy vampire for me that I can get suckered into extraordinarily easily because as somebody who has devoted myself to self-care and self-work and tools, I am of the belief that there's always a solution. And it might not be the solution that we're wanting, but there is a solution out there that you are not stuck. And a martyr energy vampire loves to be stuck because it gives them a lot of attention. And so what they do is they perpetually create problems. And this might be the friend that shows up that constantly is asking for advice and needs help, but does nothing about it at all. Energy vampire, watch out. So these are just a few of the different types of energy vampires that show up in our lives. And even just the energy vampires that can just be negative and just really like to be negative as a way of being in the world and see things with just this lens of having to be in danger, or even like this lens of like everybody is out to get them. And again, as sensitives and empaths and intuitives, it triggers us. It pulls you in. It sucks that energy center from yourself. So what do we do about it? Because sometimes, like I said, these people show up and they can be even our family members. So you're not going to get rid of your dad or your mom or your sister or your cousin or something like that. But we can change how we react to them. So first and foremost, really start to pay attention to what your own energy is. Because a lot of times the thing about energy vampires is that we get slimed and then we walk away and aren't necessarily that conscious that we got slimed. All of a sudden, we're just kind of in a bad mood, or we're feeling ungrounded or disconnected, or all of a sudden it's like we're just having a bad day. Pay attention. Is that your own energy or is that somebody else's energy? And a really simple way that I do this is just doing a full body scan. And so I like to start my morning by scanning my energy because it helps to create a relationship with my own vibe and with my own spirit. And so the first thing I do when I really am starting to feel myself affected is doing my scan and just even evenly scanning and feeling those parts on my body that aren't my energy. And I'll even sometimes physically remove them, throw them out. Not in my energy field. Second of all, having good boundaries. Having good boundaries. This is something that empaths and intuitives, we need to practice a lot because we're so porous and supportive and available that a lot of times we feel like boundaries of saying, I'm sorry, no, is actually a way of not being nice. But instead, we're not really being nice to ourselves. And also, what we're really saying to the other person is that I don't trust you to figure this out. But if we can trust their spirit and even just say, I have confidence that you'll figure this out or maneuver this, it can also not only help to deflect, but also help to alleviate us from having to figure it out or create endless solutions. Third, I'm always bad at counting, meditate. Meditation is a wonderful tool that allows us to create more space internally so that we don't have to just react. Awesome. Getting out of reactivity gives us a place of empowered choice. And the last one that I really love to do, which is if I'm really, really, really feeling the drain, is to take an Epsom salt bath with half a cup of baking soda and half a cup of Epsom salt. It's a really great way to ground us, get us back into our bodies. That's another thing. Go for a walk, go for a run, move the energy, but recognize what's your responsibility and what is not. And be more loving to yourself than you are to the energy vampires because they're gonna leave you drained. So I hope you enjoyed this video on how to deal with some energy vampires and different types. Sign up on our website, soniaandsabrina.com, for a free spiritual lesson every week, and also book an appointment to talk to me. I mentor and do soul readings, and I know that I can help you. Sending you all my love.